I don't know about you guys, but it is hot where I am right now. You probably hear the fan that's blowing. I'm gonna try to get rid of that, but unfortunately, it's a bit of a necessity right now. You either have fan noise in the background or very, very sweaty Jack in the foreground. I think you'd prefer the sound. Again, I'm gonna try to get rid of it. Hopefully, with the magic of audio editing, we won't be able to hear it, but I'll still be able to feel it, and that's the important part. In New England, you get 95-degree summers and 10-degree winters, and you never really get used to either extreme. I don't know, though, weirdly, I kind of like having such dramatic changes in the seasons. I mean, I'm getting more and more concerned about just how extreme the weather has been getting across the globe, but, yeah, I'm concerned. Sorry, there's no punchline for this one. This is all just very concerning. But we're not going to talk about any of that right now. In fact, I made this video specifically to lift my spirits. I want to talk about two of my favorite things: New England and Pokemon. The northeast coast of the United States has been my home my entire life. Sure, the beaches are crowded and the tea catches on fire, but I love it here. There's a beautiful blend of nature, culture, and entertainment in New England. There's literally something for everyone. You like the outdoors? Spend a few days in Acadia and enjoy the view. Looking for a fun weekend? Boston and Providence are just a train ride apart, and they have everything from parks to museums to adult arcades. Or maybe you're a bit of a sports fan. Last summer, I went to a One Piece themed Red Sox game. Yeah, you heard me right. Luffy was there, and I brought him home with me. Over a year ago, I made an April Fool's video about a new, made-up Fakemon region based on my favorite place in the world. It was mostly a joke, but I think because I wasn't taking it seriously, I actually ended up having a lot of fun coming up with ideas for my New England-inspired region. Thus, the Haba region was born. Yeah, I know, I said that I was taking a break from drawing Fakemon, but I said that like 2 years ago. Break's over. When I finished the Mazda region and I said that I needed to take some time to work on other projects, I didn't actually think I would miss drawing Fakemon this much. It's very therapeutic to turn concepts that I love into designs that remind me of my childhood. I mean, I've been doing it since I was a child. I guess that's part of why it reminds me of my childhood. That makes sense. You know, I got so invested in the Mazda region that I think I began to take making Fakemon a little too seriously. I forgot why we found it fun to conjure up ideas for our own regions and new evolutions in the back of the bus after school. Then, like a bolt of lightning, the urge to do it again struck me, and I succumbed.
Video starts at 2:44.
This is the video. It's not a YouTube short, this is a YouTube long. We're gonna go off on tangents, we're gonna lose focus, and we're gonna have a damn good time. Actually, I'll tell you what we're gonna do here today. We're gonna talk about the beauty and splendor of the Northeast United States. We're going to watch me design some Fakemon for the Haba region, and we're gonna enjoy a little respite from the hot summer sun together. Now, doesn't that sound nice? But hey, if you really just wanna see the PNGs of the Fakemon that I drew, no problem. Check the video chapters. I've marked the points in the video where I am putting the final artwork for each design. I know that a lot of people who like Fakemon content aren't really here for the process. They just want to see some cool illustrations, and honestly, I dig that. No judgment here. But for the rest of you who enjoy watching people draw or like to draw themselves, I hope that me taking you through the steps I took to create these designs is entertaining, educational, and enjoyable. Okay, so I know a lot of people enjoy the little consistencies that occur across every mainline Pokemon game. Personally, I love these too. It's fun to have archetypes to build off of whenever I get the itch to design Fakemon again. You got your starters, obviously, your box legendaries, they're always there. Then there are some patterns that aren't really set in stone, but are pretty much always in the games. Like your Route 1 normal types. Now, as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, but as far as I'm aware, every mainline Pokemon game starts the player off with some normal types to catch at the very beginning of the game. You know what I'm talking about, like Zigzagoon, Sentret, Lechonk, this fucking thing. They're generally on the weaker side, with the exception of Big Chungus over here, and they are very common. Usually, they're directly based on some real-world animal like a rat or a beaver, and don't get too crazy with elemental typings or extravagant designs. Now, when I thought about what would make a good Route 1 normal type for a region inspired by New England, a couple different animals popped into my head. A squirrel, a deer, a bear, a raccoon, all staples of New England for sure, but all animals that already have a normal type Pokemon equivalent today. Possums had potential, but I don't personally have the same affinity for these guys that a lot of people do. Then I thought outside the box. I thought, why does this Pokemon have to be terrestrial? Who says it can't be a cute little guy who lives in the sea? Not on the land. Seals. Seals! Yeah, okay, they're not as common on the East Coast as they used to be before white people got here, but nothing says Rhode Island beach like a cute little harbor seal sitting on a rock and scratching his belly. Now, of course, yes, we already have more than a few seal-type Pokemon as well, but with the exception of the Popplio line, they're all late-game ice types. I say nay. Let the people have their seals right from the start. Imagine you set off on your harbor region journey from your nice seaside town and travel across Route 1, and Route 1 is a beach. There are little Pinnipups everywhere, and they are so damn cute. Yes, it's impossible to out-cute Sfeel, I know this, but I don't need to beat them. Maybe there are even a few Sfeels sharing the waters with Pinnipup. In fact, I like that. Let it be henceforth known as canon that there are, in fact, Sfeel in the harbor region. Instead of trying to compete with what Sfeel has going for it, that is, the adorable roundness of a fat little seal, this design would suggest something else to focus on. Seals are very graceful in the water, but on land, they look like they're missing body parts. They just kind of sit there like big rubber toys barely balancing on a rock. Baby seals look especially helpless and can't even swim for the first few weeks of their lives. It's like pathetically adorable, adorably pathetic. It's a unique brand of cute that would make a polar bear very hungry. Fortunately, there are no polar bears on the beaches of Hava, and the numerous Pinnipups can rock playfully back and forth without fear of being gobbled up. They may get caught by a trainer or two, though. Hey, which of these color schemes do you guys like the best? Because I went with this one, but I feel like they all have their merits. It's fun trying out different color palettes like this. Usually I have one in my head that I feel certain will be the best, and I don't even explore other options. And honestly, in this case, I did end up going with my first idea. But we're gonna see some other designs today where trying color schemes that were wildly different from my initial idea resulted in a much better final product. Now, if you enjoy designing Fakemon yourself, and you like the style in which I render my illustrations, you can get the brushes that I'm using in this video, and they're all available for purchase on our Gumroad. The link is in the description. The brushes I use for my Fakemon artwork are part of the Poketo pack, and they were specifically designed by Claire to replicate the look of official Pokemon artwork. I used them to create this little guy, and to create this, the evolution for Pinnipup. Alright, now Claire and I were talking about Sfeel, and how we love it, obviously, and how we love Celio too. We even like Walrein, but we both agreed that it was a shame that it lost all of the cuteness of its first two forms. My primary goal with this evolution was to keep the cuteness factor up. Not easy for me, you guys know that I tend to default to much more menacing looking designs. And honestly, I didn't want this evolution to look so cute that it didn't feel strong. I know it's just a Route 1 normal type, but it's fun to have an early game Pokemon that doesn't feel useless. Seals, as real world animals, don't have a lot of features that we as humans associate with ferocity or power. They have some nasty dental hardware and some serious bulk, but that's about it. And I wasn't going to turn this into another walrus. You ever look at Dugong or a Kakumon and think, why do these seals have giant unicorn horns coming out of their heads? Well, it used to puzzle me too, until I tried to design a seal monster. I thought the horn on Dugong was lazy and unconsidered, and while it looked alright, seemed like such a last-minute addition to the Pokemon. But guess what I did when I couldn't think of an interesting way to use the negative space on the top of this Pokemon's head? Okay, I think the reason it feels natural to put a big horn on your seal monster is because subconsciously, you're thinking of narwhals. And now, subconsciously, you have a song stuck in your head. Pinnipeds and cetaceans are similar. Both groups are carnivorous marine mammals with generally rotund bodies, flippers, and are usually cuter looking than they are scary. Narwhals are by no means the scariest whales out there, but as far as physical features associated with violence and strength goes, a 3-foot-long tusk is pretty badass. So yeah, I caved. Not to say that there weren't other ways to make Shorlug look tougher, but I'm also not saying that I don't think a giant horn sticking out of its head looks cool. because it does. It looks cool. And yes, both of these Pokemon are water types, but that doesn't mean they have to be blue. To keep consistent with the typical Route 1 normal type design conventions, I stuck to browns for this design, which actually works pretty well for a seal. But I did make the shiny blue, because, well, I mean, it looks good. The blue looks good. Hey, let me ask you something. What do you think of the name Shorlug? I don't know, it's kind of so dumb that it's good. I'm a little embarrassed to admit, I spent a while thinking of names for this guy, and Shorlug was the best I could do. If you have any other ideas, leave them down in the comments. I am very open to changing that name. Okay, so you're walking down Route 1, you've just caught yourself a Pinnipup, and you're ready to continue on your way towards the first town. But wait, what's that in the sky? And what are these little creatures hopping around in the dunes? Well, of course, they're the Route 1 flying types, another staple of mainline Pokemon games. They're here to add a little bit of type diversity to your early game team, and they're a great opportunity to explore some avian concepts for the Haba region. But you won't find this guy on Route 1, not unless you've brought your own. This is the final form of this evolutionary line, and yup, I designed it first. I talked about this a little bit in my last Enigmorph video, about how it's not necessary or even always a good idea to draw your evolutionary line in sequence from first form to final form. Historically, this is how I've always done it, at least for Fakemon. But why? I think part of the reason is because I knew I was going to be making videos out of my design process, and I didn't want to spoil the final form before I showed the first form. But that presumes that the people only care about the final form and not the forms preceding it. Maybe the first form is the big reveal, or the second form in this case. Or maybe people are just more generally interested in the way that I do my designs, which in this case is not in order from stage 1 to stage 3. Anyway, while I've been yapping, this time-lapse footage has been going, and some of you may have already guessed what my inspiration was for this design. I love birdwatching, and I especially love cool birds of prey. Up here, there's one raptor that always gets me excited when I see it, and that is the majestic osprey. Growing up, my grandparents had a big platform behind their house that was specifically made for ospreys to build their nest on. Every year, the same mating pair would return to that nest to start a new family, and it was always fun to watch the little hatchlings grow up. When I think of New England and the miles of beautiful coastline that run along it, I think of ospreys. Now, I've said before that a good Pokemon design should be more than just a cartoon animal, and you can still quote me on that. But I will admit that Seabeak here is mostly just a cartoon osprey. I didn't really have a strong secondary concept for the design of this Pokemon. I was mostly just highlighting the physical features of ospreys that I find the coolest, like their hooked beak, strong talons, and sharp eyes. And that's okay, like obviously there are plenty of official Pokemon designs that are pretty much just cartoon animals. Like Swellow, I mean this is just a barn swallow with hair gel. Or Pidove, it's not even really a combination of a pigeon and a dove because pigeons are just a type of dove. Again, I was loosening up a little bit with these designs, getting less hung up on complicated design philosophy and just enjoying the process of making something that I could be happy with. I am not, however, happy with this name. Like Seabeak? Really? I guess it's not lamer than Talonflame, but that's a pretty low bar. Any other ideas? Leave them in the comments. With this line, I'm really glad that I designed the final form first, because it made designing the first form a whole lot easier. So remember when I said that one of the main focuses of Seabeak's design were its eyes? Ospreys have incredible vision, and that's a cool adaptation that can be hyperbolized in a fun way for a Pokemon design. And it can be subverted. Because you know what doesn't have good vision? Baby birds. For this design, that's what I wanted to focus on. The concept of Osprey just sort of fell away, took the back burner. The first form of this Pokemon line didn't have to look like a baby Osprey necessarily, just a baby bird. So instead of forcing this design to have explicitly raptorial features, I instead worked around the core concept of a baby bird with poor vision. After some rough sketches, I got to this point, with a pattern on the Pokemon's face that resembled large glasses. Baby birds' eyes can't even open all the way when they're newly hatched, but they still have big-ass eyeballs in their skulls that bulge out of their heads. To me, this kind of made it look like they were wearing those prescription goggles that parents give their babies to help them see when they're too young to wear glasses. This was the key to the design. The rest sort of fell into place. I alluded to elements of the final form with some feathers sticking out from under the head that resembled the tied end of a little neckerchief or something. It also gave the design a look like the little guy wanted to go out on an adventure, but be back before Betty by time. Claire helped me settle on this color scheme, which was not, in fact, my first idea, but we both liked the strong contrast between the yellow and the dark blue, and it made the character look very nautical, which I liked. This almost looks more like a seagull than an osprey with that yellow beak, and again, I like that too. I didn't need this design to be an osprey. The final form has that covered. This was just going to be a cute, seaside baby bird with poor eyesight. Oh, and I named it Squail. Kind of like squawk and frail and squint and quail all in one syllable. I like this name. No change requested here. Unless you have a really good one. And that brings us to the final design I made, which also happens to be the second form of this 3-stage evolutionary line. Again, this is the order I designed them in, third into first into second. I don't know, it's just how my mind was traveling during this process, and I think it paid off. Now, some of you may have already noticed that Seabeak's colors kind of make it look like a different kind of bird, another common sight in the trees and skies of New England. Hear that? If you live around here, you probably hear it all the time. It's the call of the incessant, yet strikingly gorgeous, blue jay. They're one of those birds that's so common that I think people tend to take their beauty for granted, or at least I do. But whenever I look at pictures or get an up-close view of these flamboyant corvids, I'm reminded of just how stunning they are. So instead of backtracking on my Seabeak design to make it look less like a blue jay, I decided to have the middle form of this line look more like a blue jay. And that's pretty much it. Like this is kind of just a blue jay. I'm really contradicting myself about that cartoon animal thing, but like, yeah, there isn't much going on here other than a little personality infused into a pretty simplified blue jay body. Or is there? Obviously, when I started coloring this one, I thought, yeah, this blue jay is gonna be blue. But then I stopped myself and I said, hang on. Just try a few palettes like you did with the other ones and see if you like those more. So I did. First, I did the blue jay colors and I was like, see, told you, that looks really nice. And then I almost just left it there. But then I forced myself to do another one, and almost as a jab to my own insistence that I should experiment with other palettes, I made the main color white. And wait, I think I like that more. Like, yeah, it doesn't read as much as a blue jay now, but that's actually a good thing. Like, I'm not just making a cartoon animal. This looks fantastical, fictional. It looks more like a Pokemon than if I had just left it blue. This is why it's important to try out new ideas, because yeah, your first idea might be good, but your second idea could be way better. And the really fun thing about designing Fakemon is that if you come up with two palettes that you like, you can always just use one of them for the shiny. And if some people like it more than the regular colors, boom. They have something to shiny hunt for. And you know I love a good shiny hunt. I love all these shinies. I mean, that should probably go without saying considering I made them all, but like, recycling my scrapped color schemes for shinies goes hard. I hope you all enjoyed this little stroll with me down Route 1 of the Haba region. I'm still kind of amped about making Fakemon right now, so I might continue to build onto this Fakemon region in the weeks to come. I'm just following my joy. Designing Fakemon made me very happy this week, and I hope that feeling spread to you as well. If you liked the video, you know the drill. Like, comment, and subscribe. I promise this isn't some kind of like verbal tick that all YouTubers have. It really does help us out a lot. And if you fancy yourself a subjectively super fan, consider supporting us on Patreon or as a channel member. And if you want to help us out even more, you can purchase one of our brush packs from our Gumroad. All the brushes I used in this video are part of our Poketo brush pack, and you can use them in Procreate or Photoshop. Thank you to all of our current Patreon supporters, you guys rock. And one last thank you to everyone still watching for making it through the whole video. Peace, and I'll see you in the next one.